program. There is a French phrase known as en panne, and sadly, it really is applicable to the situation in Haiti. Haiti is en panne, it's broken down. But how do we get it back to where it could be so that people's lives can be restored and law and order can be restored? The fact is, aid is difficult to get into Haiti right now. Medical supplies, food, water, can hardly find it. And we're going to take a different approach towards Haiti today in our discussions. My special guests are historian Dr. Chris Curry.
Good day, it's great to be here.
Good. And author, playwright, Dr. Ian Strawn.
Thanks for having me.
Great. Now, both of you have done some work on Haiti, and are very familiar with the situations in Haiti. What's your thought about the current situation there?
It feels as if it's, to borrow a phrase from one of my favorite authors, Nicolas Frisier, he talks about state versus nation. And what you have is a nation that's in peril, and you have a state that's in paralysis. It's not able to respond because, some would argue, it's not a legitimate operation. You know, Henri was not really elected.
Sure, he wasn't.
But he's operating as the prime minister. But of course, you have seen this. This is nothing new. This is a cycling of a continuous struggle between the state and the nation, where you have a police force that is diminished. You have gangs that are fighting for legitimacy to overthrow the state. The state is often used, gangs and armed bandits and etc., to create its own power base. We know that going back to the 1950s, starting with Francois Duvalier and then his son Jean-Claude Duvalier, they had their private police force, the Tonton Macoute, and that is how they wielded power. So as a historian, I know that what we see in the present looks remarkably similar to what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I think what is frustrating for me and saddening for me is the cyclical nature of this crisis, right?
We've been here before.
Yeah, and the moment in which democracy finally wins out with the election of Aristide was itself short-lived and sabotaged, right? And unfortunately, my friend here characterizes the context, the conflict or the crisis as one between state and nation, and I generally agree. But I think how I would characterize it is, who would be surprised necessarily, as a conflict between interests, right? Those who wish to see a Haiti that is more equitable, where there is greater access and opportunity for the masses, versus those who profit from the way things have been.
You know, those 10 families in Haiti, they run basically everything.
So that is our problem, and the crisis, the cruel, brutal assassination of this president, as we now see how horrible a mistake that was for that country. And again, selfish ambition, just a refusal to respect the democratic process and use peaceful transition to change hands of power, has basically caused this level of disorder, and people are suffering as a result. And it's very, very sad. And I think from the outside looking in, it might be hard for us to understand all of the historical forces that have had a part to play in this, and how easy it seems, or how prepared or comfortable the United States has been with this sort of disorder.
When really the United States should have they're providing money, which is critical.
Yeah.
I think the most powerful country in the world is always concerned about security, right? So one would think that would be the case in Haiti.
And the guise, if I could say, of stabilizing a country has always been a pretext for the United States intervening in Western Hemispheric nations.
Absolutely.
Whether it was Grenada, Venezuela, Nicaragua, Panama, Nicaragua, the Sandinistas, all of it was always under the pretext, and this goes really back to the Monroe Doctrine of 1823 and then Teddy Roosevelt's big stick policy at the turn of the 20th century, that the United States has the right to stabilize the region whenever it seemed or deemed necessary. We saw this in Haiti in 1950. The U.S. actually, Marines went in and occupied Haiti from 1915 to basically 1932. And that militaristic element to that occupation was devastating for Haiti, because I would argue that even the militaristic nature of Haiti as we see it today, use of force, belligerent force against civilians, can be dated back to this period of occupation by the U.S. and by extension then to the Duvalier regime later on. The charm for the U.S. is because Haiti is on its back door, because it's a Western Hemispheric nation, because they see elements of instability. The charm for them is to want to go in and fix it. And for too long, they've fallen prey to their own charms and devices, and they've gone in, they've tried to stabilize a country rather than understanding that Haiti as a sovereign nation has a right to its own self-determination. And so this is why, again, going back to what Ian is saying, we're seeing history repeat itself because the charm is at play again, and the U.S. is again wanting to go in and stabilize when in reality there needs to be solutions on the ground coming from the Haitian people themselves.
And that's one thing you hear CARICOM talking about all the time, that it's got to be a Haitian-led and
Yes.
Haitian solution. They're looking at this transitional council now. How viable do you think that is?
Well, I mean, again, we've been here before, it feels like, but I don't see how any transition or stabilization is going to be possible without some international commitment of security forces on the ground to make sure the airport is open, to make sure the penitentiary is actually operating, to make sure the street, people can get access and people can move about, to impose curfew for a time as necessary, etc. And this,
I believe a state of emergency is still in place.
and I think I think it's problematic that there is yet to see a significant international commitment to be on the ground and provide that support. 9,000 police officers for 7 million people.
It's a joke.
Yeah. But that's the thing, and I understand the optics, the reluctance in terms of the optics of the U.S. not wanting to be the ones to step down there, but it's a little disappointing that other nations haven't been willing to.
Sure, Canada was taking the role first, at least at the last CARICOM meeting last year, but you're not hearing much about their involvement now, although they are there.
And of course, Henri was in Kenya and it was trying to get, 1,000 Kenyan soldiers to go there.
But you got like 4,000 gang members. I mean,
that's a small number. But the point is that there has to be a coalition of some kind. It cannot be a unilateral kind of decision. It can't be one country going in and trying to stabilize, as we were just saying. It has to be a coalition of persons who have the Haitian people at heart and a desire to see them eventually create the proper democratic processes to have an elected president.
But we're hearing about such hardship in Haiti right now. Whatever it takes to get this council together, and if it's approved or whatever, it's going to take a long time for them to be able to do anything, let alone lead to free and fair elections. So what happens during all this time?
I don't really have a good answer for you. I mean, I think, first of all, I mean, the nature of the plot that led to the president's assassination was somewhat alarming. Everything that's come out and all the arrests around.
Your wife's involved.
Exactly. So that's alarming. And again, I guess I'm looking beyond this current crisis to how you establish a government, a democratic government, and secure it, and allow it to operate, and create cycles. Like we'll see, how can I put this? We take for granted that we will have peaceful elections and transitions of power and all the rest of it. And I just think that whatever happens, the level of intelligence gathering and the level of support for democracy in Haiti, on an international basis, has to be much stronger. I mean, obviously, there's always been aid. aid workers and aid agencies trying to do work in Haiti. But I guess I don't know enough about the realities on the ground, other than to say it's clear to me that some negotiation would have to be done with the major gang leaders. And I can't imagine that they would step away from power sharing. That whatever future, there's going to be some significant role. How you define that role for them, I don't know. But that's obvious. And yet you still have to have democracy, right? Mm-hmm. So I know the main, his nickname is Barbecue. He's an ex-officer, right? But
although they claim that, even though he's the most popular one, he's the most media friendly, he's not the most powerful.
He's not the most powerful.
There's another one who's a rapper, I can't remember his name right now, but apparently he's the one who's got, along with 100,000 followers on Instagram. I mean, you think about women, you think about children, you think about the elderly, you think about people who need health care, you think about all of those fundamental elements of a civil society. And food and water, which have been challenges in Haiti for a long time.
I mean, but again, too, I mean, having been to Haiti, traveled there, I have not lived there for an extended period, but I know that Haiti is not Port-au-Prince, right? So what you see happening in the streets of Port-au-Prince does not necessarily reflect what's happening all across the country. Circumstances all across the country, so I would be reluctant to assume too much about the day-to-day for everyone.
Yeah, I was blessed as a young man. I think I must have only been about 12 or 13. It was 1986. I went to Cap Haitian, and I was able to travel up to the Citadel.
Lucky you.
That was kind of interesting because the last part of it, it's so hilly. It was a donkey ride up to the very top.
It's a challenge.
but the point of me saying all of that is it's absolutely true that Port-au-Prince is not Haiti, and the northern territory of Haiti is very different from the central and the south. In fact, one could argue geographically and politically, you have three separate areas and regions that have very different cultures. And we know, going back to the revolution, the north was significant as the place, the locus of where the revolution really started, with the Baus Caimin ceremony and Bokman and Toussaint, obviously. But it's also important to note that the north is a region that is connected to the Bahamas in a way that the other regions are coming from, right?
Lambe, places like that.
And what I saw, just as a point, this is 86 when I was traveling there, right? This was like Duvalier, Baby Doc was still in power. It was like one year before he fled to France. And when I got off I was on a cruise ship, and the first thing that I saw, I'd never seen as a kid growing up in the Bahamas, the police were actually beating some of the Haitian craftsmen and women who were trying to sell trinkets to the visitors coming off. They were actually literally beating them with sticks. As we were driving in jeeps the first leg of the trip up to the Citadel, a lot of the Haitian women were actually running after our jeeps, trying to sell, even as the jeep is moving the stuff. And it just spoke to me to a kind of condition I had never experienced in my own limited life experience. So it reminded me, even that, this is 86, it's reminding me of the trauma that's inflicted on the people of Haiti.
What I'd like to do, because I get a little frustrated too with the narrowness of media reporting on Haiti, particularly the North American news and so on. And we as Bahamians sort of just have to passively receive, because not many of us have done. All three of us have been in Haiti. You worked there on behalf of the Bahamian government. So you have a much more three-dimensional understanding of the society.
Wonderful things
yes,
about it.
Exactly. But I think just for context, we tend to stereotype Haiti as this place where there's chaos and violence and so on, and all you get is these snippets on the news of people in the street and something's burning and
like it's happening every day.
And let's try to remember, Bahamian public, that right now there's a man running for president of the United States who's been charged with, I think, 9 crimes. Right? So, and remember that in the United States now, people have access to weapons and they can mow down children in elementary schools, and the state will not do anything about it. So
what's really worse?
Yeah, so I'm just saying, the notions of order and democracy and civility and barbarity and, you know, all of these things, we want to frame them in a certain way and locate evil and chaos and in these spaces that are where there are dark people and where there are poor people and in the margins, as if they don't also exist in the center. And so I just want to resist that because I mean my heart breaks for what I see, but I also am deeply alarmed by what is happening in the world's leading nation.
And we should.
You know what I'm saying?
And just to add to this, I remember a few years ago in a class I was teaching at UB, I had a student who said, you know, he was railing about Haiti, and he's saying that Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. I said, have you ever seen Haitian art? Have you ever heard about the negritude movement? Have you ever heard about the vast amount of literary work that's been produced by this country? I say, when we measure the wealth of a country simply by GDP, we're doing a huge disfavor to that country. I often say Haiti was and is one of the richest countries in the world because of its intellectual capacity, because of its artistry, because of its
agricultural potential.
It is an amazing country. But the thing is, the Western media particularly zooms in on the violence, and they neglect the people and their rich history and culture.
Whereas if the same thing were happening in the United States, you'd probably have even more violence because you've got it now, as you pointed out.
Yeah, everybody got
it. But I want us to turn very quickly before our time runs out. The impact on the Bahamas. Are you surprised that we've had some migration since this has happened, but it really hasn't been overwhelming yet. Are you surprised about that?
I don't.
And of course, this is for both of you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I mean, I realize that there usually are waves when you have this level of disorder, right? And I know that the Defense Force is being proactive, and they decided to blockade. So, I mean, I suppose we'll have to see what the next few months have to hold for us. But again, it makes me wonder, again, how are things beyond the city of Port-au-Prince, right? So, and how that factors into the fact that you don't see more of what you might expect, or maybe it's going to take a while.
Yeah, the only thing I see a lot of talk of, other than Port-au-Prince, is what's happening in Cap Haitian, because everyone's trying to get there, or at the borders with the Dominican Republic.
Well,
yes.
We know the Dominicans have never really treated Haitians the way that they should be, as neighbors.
Right.
Oh, the terrible neighbors. Yeah, I feel like, again, let's just be honest, we're a very xenophobic nation, and we have...
I don't understand it when so many of us come from so many different places.
Including Haiti.
That we don't even know, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so there's always alarm. For example, in my area of work, I had a staff member who was very concerned about the recent CARICOM decision that they're going to follow through with the CSME ruling that goes all the way back to 2002 with movement of people. I had to say, well, guess what? And this was before it was actually restated by the Minister of Foreign Affairs. I said, you know that we didn't sign on to CSME? Yes, we're a full member of CARICOM, but we did not sign on to that initiative that Mia Motley is touting now. So she said, oh, thank God. You know, but the point, the point is this.
All you got to do is read.
But read Bob's. But the point is that, you know, honestly, I do not see this as a threat to us. I see that we definitely, obviously, we have sensitive issues in our country. There needs to be a regularizing, I think, of persons within our country. I do believe and support protecting our borders. But we also have to understand these are human beings that are being, they're in a chaotic situation. And they're exiled from that country is because of a political calamity that they're dealing with.
I had a talk with a young person the other day whose mother really she's not too keen on Haitians. But he was saying, you know, how many children, have you ever had any kids in the United States? And she was like, she got very angry with him, because the point is, how many babies actually travel to the United States just to have their kids?
Right.
So
Right.
are we really in a position to be?
What about the contract? We talk
Well,
about the
yeah.
contract when Bahamians went to South Florida and other places to earn a living, when they, work in the Bahamas was hard to find, wages, remittances were sent back home. And I talk with people, why don't we have a sort of regulated labor system that would assist our countrymen in Haiti, that could be done in places where we actually need the agricultural laborers. People look at me like I'm crazy.
And as I'm sure you know, that's not the first time that's actually been raised. I mean, we've been talking about this for years, but why can't we do it? And why can't we properly regularize people here? Let's talk about obviously right now there's this ongoing effort to demolish the unregulated communities.
Yeah.
Which has to be done if you want to raise the standard. But how do you feel it's being done now? You feel it's being done in the right way?
And again, I'm here as Ian Strawn, author. Ian Strawn, author and intellectual. I think from what I see, they're trying to give people notice, etc. I'm always concerned when people are losing their homes. I understand that these things have been allowed to go for so many years unchecked, and there are safety issues for the people who live there as well as for the public. I understand all of that, but I guess how I would give a response to this is, I would like the Bahamian people to consider whether we are punching down. So, is clearing the shanty towns and gathering up everyone who's undocumented going to change the price of electricity? Is it going to change the price of gasoline? Is it going to change the price of food? Is it going to address climate change? Is it going to address bad governance and public waste and corruption? Is it going to have the impact on your life? Is it going to make it easier for you to access land and credit and financing? The things that actually have an impact on the quality of your life. Is it going to give you easier access? Are you going to own more of the economy of the Bahamas?
So really, we're distracted by the immigration
I
issue.
think that the answer to those questions is no to all of them, and this is a thing that is almost being used to make us feel better or feel like we're in charge, but we're coming at it from the wrong end. We're not talking about land reform. We're not talking about the fact that we don't own hotels and cruise ships, and we're getting less and less access to the beach, and it's harder and harder for people to own a home. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So that's how I would.
So Chris Curry, let me ask this then. How can we best assimilate people who come here, from Haiti in particular now, since that's what we were talking about, to make them feel that they really are part of the Bahamas and Bahamian?
Well, first of all, I think we should always revisit the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 1948, and look at what is espoused in that wonderful, grand document about how we treat human beings, right? Because people that are displaced, people that are impoverished, people that are coming here just for human dignity, seeking work and other opportunities, they're human beings.
Yeah.
So we have to get away from displacing people. We have to give them access to educational opportunities. Healthcare should be afforded as it would to anyone else. People have a right to thrive. And and the other thing that would help, if I could, is history. And what I mean, I don't mean to be cheeky just because I happen to be a historian, but if you think about it, it always boggled my mind that you have this African diaspora, right? And you have this wonderful, amazing revolution that some say was unthinkable for its time. And yet it was the most radical expression of revolutionary fervor in all of the Atlantic world.
Sure.
Much more radical and far-reaching than the American Revolution or the wars in Latin America, for example, certainly the French Revolution. And yet we have most Bahamians have this shared diasporic history, but we don't embrace it. In fact, what we do is the opposite. We try to denounce it. We try to deny it. We try to perfume the past. We try to pretend like it didn't happen. So if we're to assimilate or integrate persons from a diasporic past that we have in common, then it begins with our understanding of history and an appreciation of it. And to understand, actually, even from the 1804 to the present, Haitians have consistently come into the Bahamas and made huge contributions to our society, from Stephen Dillard and John Goodman and George Laroda, all the way through to Arthur Folks, and you could go on and on through to the 20th century. And yet people are in denial and they're trying to silence the past. I mean, we have people changing names and doing all kinds of things, anglicizing the names.
So I think I
can tell you one popular, so I'm going to give you a quick comment on this, and I want 30 seconds from each of you as we wrap up.
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
No, I wanted to say, I think go back to the Constitutional Commission reports. I think we have to address the issue of citizenship, citizenship at birth.
Yes.
Amen. We have to.
Amen.
That remains problematic.
Yeah, we have to introduce reform that does not structurally create second-class citizens who are disenfranchised and who know no other country and will go to no other country. So you're creating your own problem, and that's the main enemy of assimilation, in my view.
Oh, that's true. The problems we're having, we caused it to the greatest extent. Not the Asian people, really, we did. But can I have your final comments as we close this part of the show?
Well, I just want to say it's something to keep in mind that the Bahamas is a place for everyone. I mean, if you think about it, unless you're an indigenous Lucayan, everyone that's been here came from somewhere else. Right? So and even the Lucayans, they migrated here between 600 and 800 AD. So the point here is the Bahamas has, since its inception, for the longevity of its history, has always been a place where others came too. So out of many came one, to quote the Jamaican
You have to define what Bahamian is, right?
Yes. So I would just say that the situation of Haiti dramatizes why reparations are important for slavery. And I think that the developed world has to answer for its role, not only in slavery, but also in what has been done to destabilize Haiti. Remembering that the very first democratically elected leader after the Duvaliers, Aristide, was in fact removed by a man trained in the School of the Americas, trained by the Americans. And so their role in destabilizing, in propping up dictators, in enabling the wealthy class to continue to benefit while others languish, that needs to be looked at. And justice involves some accountability, not just for those who hold guns in the street and rape and pillage, but for those powerful nations that continue to permit, enjoy, enable Haiti's problems to continue and fester.
Dr. Ian Strachan, Dr. Chris Curry, thank you for being on the first edition of Reid Between the Lines.
Congrats.
Yes, congratulations.
Looking forward to it.
Got to have you both on to talk about your creative side.
Would love to.
I know you're doing some wonderful ventures,
yes.
and we'd like for the people to know about that.
Excellent.
And we will be back with more after this.